Welcome to Pontification Nation. I'm your host, Ricky Skittle, coming to you live, as always, from my mother's basement. And we're gonna do basically the second half of the video I did earlier. If you have watched that already, where I kind of talk about a little bit of the news from the day. I just had a few things I wanted to touch on for your own edification. So first, we want to think and look at Kim Strassel. So if you don't know Kim, she's on the editorial board of the Wall Street Journal and a great reporter and journalist who tells the truth. So you should follow her and look at her and pay attention when she talks. She's on Hannity and Tucker quite often. Some other shows on Fox as well. She might even be a Fox News contributor. But in any case, here she's talking about Adam Schiff. So basically, I want to really kind of get into this. Once we get past Mueller, what happens? So there's two parts of what happens after Mueller. One part is reality, which none of us truly really know yet. And I would be speaking in hyperbole and conjecture and really, really speculating if I were to talk to you about what I think's going to happen after Mueller. So what I think is reality of what's going to happen after Mueller. But so let's talk about the fake news of what's going to happen after Mueller and what these people are now attempting to do. So from the beginning, the Democrats in Congress have called for a special counsel. Someone of unimpeachable character who we know will do the hard work of giving us the information we need to impeach Donald Trump. Because we really don't want to run against Donald Trump. We would prefer to remove him from office so that we do not have to run against him, because we won't win if we run against him. Bookie odds today, Donald Trump 3-2. For those of you who are unfamiliar with the way betting works, that's 1.5 to 1, which means for every dollar you bet, you get $1.50 back. The next closest is Kamala Harris at 10 to 1, which means for every dollar you bet, you get $10 back. So Donald Trump is the clear odds-on favorite as far as bookmakers are concerned today at winning the presidency. So this is a big concern for the Democrats in general, because if they don't take back the power and hide all of their criminal actions, alleged criminal actions, things that I believe are criminality, then they are going to be removed from office and publicly shunned and destroyed in a major way. So, on to Kim's article. I'm going to read through it. It's a short read. There's been no more reliable regurgitator of fantastical Trump-Russia collusion theories than Democratic Rep. Adam Schiff. This is a guy who's been in Congress since 2001, too, by the way. So when the House Intelligence Committee chairman sits down to describe a new phase of the Trump investigation, pay attention. These are the fever swamps into which we will descend after Robert Mueller's probe. The collusionists need a new phase as signs grow that the special counsel won't help realize their reveries of a Donald Trump takedown. They had said Mr. Mueller would provide all the answers. Now it seems they won't like his answers. Democrats and media insist that any report will likely prove anticlimactic and inconclusive. This is merely the end of Chapter 1. Said Renato Mariotti, a CNN legal analyst. Well, listen to what this guy says. Mr. Schiff turned this week to a dependable scribe, the Washington Post David Ignatius, to lay out the next chapter of the penny dreadful. Mr. Ignatius was the original conduit for the leak about former National Security Advisor Mike Flynn's conversations with a Russian ambassador, and the far-fetched claims that Mr. Flynn had violated the Logan Act of 1799. Mr. Schiff has now dictated to Mr. Ignatius a whole new collusion theory. Forget Carter Page, Paul Manafort, George Papadopoulos, and whoever. The real Trump-Russia canoodling rests in Trump's finances. And guess who's running the Ways and Means and Financial Services committees? Maxine Waters. The future president was doing business with Russia and seeking Kremlin help. So, no apologies, no acknowledgement that Mr. Schiff and company for years have pushed fake stories that accused innocent men and women of being Russian agents. No relieved hope that the country might finally put this behind us. Just a smooth transition using Russia as a hook into Mr. Trump's finances. Mueller who? What's mind-boggling is that reporters would continue to take Mr. Schiff seriously, given his extraordinary record of incorrect and misleading pronouncements. This is the man who, on March 22nd, 2017, helped launch a full-blown hysteria when he said on Meet the Press that his committee already had the goods on Trump-Russia collusion. Quote, I can't go into particulars, but there is more than circumstantial evidence now, Mr. Schiff declared then. Almost 2 years later, he's provided no such evidence and stopped making the claim. Undoubtedly because, as the Senate Intelligence Committee has said publicly, no such evidence has been found. And I would argue no such evidence actually even exists. At an open house Intelligence Committee hearing on March 20th, 2017, Mr. Schiff stated, as fact, numerous crazy accusations from the infamous Steele dossier, giving them early currency and credence. He claimed that the former Trump campaign aide Carter Page secretly met with a Vladimir Putin crony and he was offered the brokerage of 19% share in a Russian company. That Trump campaign manager, Paul Manafort, tapped Mr. Page as a go-between. That Russians offered the Trump campaign damaging documents on Hillary Clinton in return for a blind eye to Moscow's Ukraine policy. Mr. Schiff has never acknowledged that all these allegations have been debunked or remain unproved. There was Mr. Schiff's role in plumping the discredited January BuzzFeed story claiming Mr. Mueller had evidence that the president directed his former personal lawyer, Michael Cohen, to lie to Congress. The special counsel's office issued a rare statement denying the report. There was Mr. Schiff's theory that the mysterious phone calls Donald Trump Jr. placed before his 2016 meeting with Russians at Trump Tower were to candidate Trump. Senate Intel shot that down. And don't forget Mr. Schiff's February 2018 memo claiming the Steele dossier did not inform the FBI probe because the Bureau didn't obtain it until long after the probe's start. Testimony from Justice Department officials shot that one down, too. With a track record like this, who wouldn't believe Mr. Schiff's new claim in the Ignatius interview that the key collusion rests in Donald Trump's finances, in particular, something to do with Deutsche Bank? But hold on. Where do we first hear the Deutsche Bank theory? That's right. See pages 64 and 117 of the Wild House testimony of Glenn Simpson, head of Fusion GPS, the organization behind the Steele dossier. It's right there, stuffed in between Mr. Simpson's musings that Ivanka Trump might be involved with a Russian Central Asian organized crime nexus. A Russian Central Asian organized crime nexus. That sounds like Ivanka. That there is something nefarious happening on the island of St. Martin in the Caribbean and that Roger Stone is part of a Turkey-Russia plot. Mr. Schiff is taking his cue for phase 2 of his investigation from the same Democrat-hired opposition research group that launched the failed phase 1. And this sheds light on the meetings on the sidelines in Aspen. At the start of the Russia craziness, Mr. Schiff had a choice. Maintain the bipartisan integrity of his committee by working with Republicans to find honest answers, or take on the role of resident conspiracy theorists. He chose the latter. It goes on to say. I guess I don't get the last couple letters here. So, thinking about this and looking at this, we know, by this, that most likely Mueller is not going to have anything significant to say about the criminality of Trump's conduct. I still continue to believe that the document, if produced by Bill Barr, we don't really know Bill Barr that well. I was young when he was Attorney General, and I probably didn't even know what an Attorney General, well, I probably knew what an Attorney General was at that point, but in any case, we don't know, I don't know enough about him to speculate on what he's going to do, but if he's an honest and integrity-driven person, he wouldn't just put out a bunch of nonsense that the media can run with and, make up stuff based on some fact that they think leads them somewhere or that they can position to look like it leads somewhere. So I think it's going to be interesting, to say the least, about how this looks going forward. But it does look like the Democrats who ran on united government, and don't worry, everything's going to settle down once we get some adults in the room, have all turned into toddlers who are running around crying like somebody took their rattles. So we will have to see what happens, in the coming weeks and probably months. I have no reason to doubt that the Mueller report will be presented to the Attorney General next week. But when the Attorney General presents anything and what that looks like, is anybody's guess at this point. A couple other things. I do want to just kind of look at this. So here's New York Times opinion. A concise Mueller report would mark the end of the beginning, not the beginning of the end. So the Mueller report will act as a roadmap to investigation for the Democrat House and further criminal investigation by other prosecutors. So this is what the Times is reporting, and this is what they think we should expect. And Rob Reiner, because he knows everything about everything, from what I understand about the complexities, opaqueness, and length of counterintelligence investigations, I'd be surprised if Mueller was able to uncover the breadth of this conspiracy. More digging will have to be done. But there'll be crimes, and we better get to see them. So this is what the left is saying about Mueller now. Now, if we go back and look at a year ago what they were saying, it was basically, elect us, because when Mueller comes out, we're going to have to impeach Trump, but don't talk about impeaching Trump, because we're not really going to impeach Trump until we get into office. Then we will actually impeach him. So things to note and watch out for. I will keep you apprised of any information or speculation that I might have that is founded in fact. Another thing that we need to keep a very close eye on, and I'm probably going to do something more in depth on this in a little bit, hopefully this weekend, but maybe it'll be early next week. But I'm reading through the 33-page opinion from the judge in this Jeffery Epstein case. So I don't want to read through this article. It's a little lengthy, and I'm trying to manage my time better. But the basic gist is that Jeffrey Epstein, who, if you don't know who he is, he's a very, very powerful billionaire. He has a plane that Bill Clinton called the Lolita Express. He has a private island in the Caribbean. Here is a photo from overhead of his compound on the island. The most interesting thing about the island to me is this. Now, I don't know what this is, but given what we know about him, this seems like a weird structure to have on your island. Now, it could just as simple as it simply be a sauna or a spa where he gets massages, who knows. But this looks like some sort of temple, and it was constructed to look like some sort of temple. And, you make your own decision about what you may or may not think of what this is. But in any case, so he has this island with this temple on it. Bill Clinton has been known to fly on the Lolita Express. I think the number was 17 times, but don't quote me on that. But at least documented 17 times of trips on his jet to this island. Hillary has been on the jet, I think, 3 to 5 times, along with Huma a few times, and Anthony Weiner. So a lot of people go to this island. Now, in 2007, Epstein was charged, indicted for some sexual activity with minors, and he was given a 13-month sentence of either like federal jail time, but like really minimum security, and he could kind of come and go as he pleased, from what I understand. And so this happened, in 2007-8. Now, just a couple of weeks ago, or maybe even entered into the docket 221. So yesterday, not a couple of weeks ago, this judge has put out this order. It's a 33-page document, which I'm reading now. I haven't read the whole thing, so that's why I said I'll probably do something a little more in depth on this. But It's a 33-page document about how the government failed his victims. So there's somewhere in the number of over 30 victims in here of some sort of sexual abuse. You know, I'm going to go back and see if I could get a look at the original indictment. The original indictment was supposed to be 60 pages, and he got 13 months. So I'm very interested to kind of see why this is happening now and what's going on. But for now, what we know is that this judge has said that the federal prosecutors on the case violated the rights of the victims by not letting them speak and tell their story, because when you have a person who's a sexual predator, his victims are afforded the opportunity to tell their stories, and also they're afforded the opportunity to look at like plea agreements and give their opinion on how they feel about the agreement being offered to the government based on what their experience was. So the judge has ruled that the prosecutors on the case did not afford his victims that opportunity. So I am very, very interested in finding out more about what's in this document. I think this is something that you all should watch out for. This has been closed. This case has been settled for 11 years, maybe 10. You know, it's interesting that this is coming out right now and what's going on with that. That's really all I have, is why is this coming out? We also today had some sort of prostitution scandal that went on that Robert Kraft, the president of the Patriots, is involved in. And I saw a blurb on Twitter, and I haven't really looked into it yet, but basically somebody's saying that Robert Kraft is not the most high-profile person that is ensnared in this prostitution ring in Miami, Florida. So I think that there's going to be a lot more interesting stuff coming out about that. I don't understand why people like that do things like that. It doesn't make any sense to me why Robert Kraft would get prostitutes. It doesn't make sense. But in any case, maybe he just likes to do stuff that's weird that other people, normal people, won't do. I don't know. But it's going to be interesting to follow. But I think in the grand scheme of things, all of this stuff, when you look at it together, not as individual things, show that there is a significant effort in this country to try to solve some of the rights, or to try to right some of the wrongs that have been done by previous administrations in our country's history. So hopefully, if these people are bad people and they deserve some sort of punishment, that will be meted out to them. And if they are innocent, I hope that they get to continue living their lives as free people without any bother from anyone else. That's all I have for now. For Ricky Skittle, for Pontification Nation, this is Ricky Skittle, and I'm out.